So when you give a talk or when you respond to a series of questions like this, I always observe, not always, but more or less always observe a tipping point within you where you become a little bit more sort of contracted because you hit upon a point yourself, you do all this yourself, where you sort of plumb an even deeper well of passion to the one about which you're already talking, and you change, and you did it before.
You know, the free speech thing really does that.
Yeah. So when I see that and when I hear that, is that anger?
I think it's anger to some degree. I mean, anger is something that should be incorporated to make you unyielding. So it's anger in that anger helps you be immovable. And this is something that I decided that I wasn't going to be moved on. And you need that. Like, if you're going to be immovable, let's say, if you were going to make a decision, and the decision is, I'm not doing that, then you have to have all your emotions behind you, right? You have to have your fear behind you, not ahead of you. You have to be more afraid of not acting than of acting. If the anger is there, it has to be the anger that allows you to confront something that you might be afraid of, because that's actually something anger does. Anger inhibits fear, technically. So if you're facing a large opponent and you can generate that internal fury, let's say, then that's one of the things that can help you stand up against fear. And so that's part of the Jungian idea of the integration of the shadow. It makes your character more powerful because you can draw on an additional source of motivation. And it's necessary to do that when you're in something that might be construed as a genuine battle.
It's quite naked as well, isn't it? It's quite honest.
Well, I hope it's honest. I mean, it can be dishonest, but it's certainly honestly the case that I'm not going to abide by compelled speech provisions. So I made that decision very carefully before I made the videos complaining about that legislation. You know, I knew what I was risking to some degree, and I know how to say no. You know, I've counseled people to negotiate for many, many years, help them negotiate improvements in their position at work, to help them negotiate with their partners, and not in a I win, you lose sort of way, but in a forthright way that hopefully is of benefit to everyone. But if you're going to negotiate, the first thing you have to do is to understand how it is that you can say no. You have to have options. And if you're going to say no, you have to have thought through what it means to take the stand you're going to take, and you have to be willing to take the consequences. And I thought through the consequences, and I thought, well, I would rather take the consequences of saying what I have to say than to take the consequences of not saying it, because there's consequences both ways. And I know, because of my studies of totalitarianism and brutality and atrocity, I know what happens to people who don't say what they have to say. It's not pretty. You sacrifice your soul doing that. And you need your soul, as it turns out. So I wouldn't recommend sacrificing it for expediency.